session. Fortunately, the lunch was not all that rich, so I'm sure nobody's going to sleep, except some of us up here, if you get too bored. This session is about the state and regulation and all the related matters. So I won't read out the titles, they're too long if you look at it. But I think the issue really here is the whole regulatory environment in India, statutory regulatory environment in India, since about the mid-90s, when the first regulator in electricity, I think Orissa, and before that TRAI, were created. And how do these regulatory commissions actually function? What is the relationship of these commissions to the state, and particularly to state governments? Apart from the center, some of you might remember that when Justice Sodhi was the chairman of the first TRAI, and they had actual tariff-setting powers. They were decision-making powers. And they came out with a rule, with a finding, raising rural telephone tariffs and keeping it a bit lower. They're dealing with this question of cross-subsidy. And the poor, that is the rural, are going to be made to pay. So they then abolished the TRAI Act. They passed the new act where they made TRAI into a recommendatory body. So clearly the government has complete stifling, a gridlock on regulators. In my experience, in the case of electricity, the central government has been reasonably good in dealing with the CRC. Certainly, I had no problem, but then I had a very good minister, Kumar Mangalam, whom I knew, and A.S. Sarma was a very independent IAS officer. So we managed. And subsequently also, I think Pramod Dev had a very good term as regulator, managed to make a number of innovative things happen in the electricity sector. But the state regulators are where the real problem lies, because they're the ones, as I said this morning, who deal with the consumer. Now, I've been suggesting, like many others, that we need to find a way to bring regulatory law as a specific subject. So you can have some commonalities between regulators and within the same sector like electricity, some precedents in decision making particularly between state regulators, which is not there today. You can't sort of quote what happened in Uttar Pradesh to the regulator in Maharashtra. You can't. Because first of all, you don't know. Even if you did, the Maharashtra fellow may not listen to you. We need to find a way to deal with this. But apart from that, there is also a draft of a bill floating around. Yes, I've seen it first about 5 years ago, from the Planning Commission, called the Regulatory Reforms Bill, which I think was drafted by Mr. Harry Rawls' very dear friend Gajendra Haldia. Yeah, there. And it wasn't a particularly good, I don't know if you've seen the draft bill. It wasn't a particularly great draft. Many of us wrote strongly about it. It's still not a law. But I think government is aware of the need to try and bring about these kinds of commonalities between regulators. Unfortunately, many of the things that need to be done have still not been done. I just want to touch on one or two which are specific to electricity. I mentioned this before this morning, this whole question of fuels, coal and gas. You know, the amount of stranded capacity because of gas not being made available is about 15,000 megawatts. That's an investment of 75 to 90,000 crores, which has just been sitting stranded. Similarly, in the case of coal, where Coal India promises that they'll supply coal, they don't, and there is no penalty for non-supply. So I think we need to have some way in which this can be done, and it seems to me that the only way it can be done is if you bring the regulation of fuels, particularly coal and power together. Now that we have a single minister, I thought Mr. Goyal would do that, but I don't see that in either the Electricity Act or even in this regulatory reform bill that is still floating around. Similarly, we have a big problem when it comes to water. Irrigation and water tariffs are quite unrelated to electricity. And I think that is something that we now need to look at very carefully, because in most of India, power tariffs, in fact, I think subsidize irrigation. Irrigation tariffs are kept lower. Now, this whole cross-subsidy idea, therefore, is not just confined to consumers of electricity. It's also there between sectors, and the sector I mentioned just now, it is irrigation and power. We need to find a way to deal with this. And nothing in the draft that I've seen, both these acts, has anything about that. Similarly, of course, we've talked about agriculture, agricultural subsidy, metering, so I won't go into that, but we know that there is a major problem. Again, this is not being tackled. Unless it can be tackled, we're not going to resolve or even come anywhere near resolving the crisis, far beyond crisis, the almost state of collapse that the power sector in India has got into, primarily because of what is happening with agriculture. Cost recovery or pollution control. This is something that sooner or later is going to come. There's no provision in this act that regulators need to look at pollution control. When you're burning coal, there is a cost in terms of the pollution that you bring in. And I think we need to find a way to deal with that also. I talked about regulators for coal, petroleum, and so forth. Let's go see one more. Enforcement. One of the good things I noticed in this order, and I'm sure it'll come up when we discuss renewable energy, is that at last we now have some enforcing authority given to the commissions on this question of renewable energy certificates, which has created a huge problem for people who are accumulating renewable energy certificates. I think on the price also for the certificates, I think there's been some movement forward. We must monitor, the regulatory commissions must monitor implementation and punish non-response. I remember when I founded FOIR, the Forum of Indian Regulators, basically with a view towards coordinating with the state regulators and the central regulator. And in due course, I said we'll open this out to other regulatory commissions. That has happened. I think Pramod Dev, 2 or 3 years ago, did open it out. I think Telecom and others are also part of this. And we did manage to help state regulatory commissions as they are set up with some advice and training. But my intention was that since the law does not provide for coordination, let's provide for some kind of coordination. Subsequently, in the 2003 Act, they brought in this Forum of Regulators, made the CRC chairman the chairman of FOR. And I thought that would give some executive power to the chairman of CRC to get the state regulators to, because they were all chairmen, were all members, to coordinate and to begin to look at things in a common way. Unfortunately, it didn't happen because I think the then chairman of CRC for 5 years was not really bothered about that, and by then it was too late. So state regulators are trying to go their own way. We need, therefore, that state regulatory commissions should not merely say what needs to be done, but monitor. And there are a number of things that they say, for example, about T&D losses or TNC losses. And they take that into account in determining tariffs. But they look at it only at the end of the year. In my view, they should be looking at it every quarter. When I mentioned this to state regulators, they said, oh, sir, that will be micromanagement. Now, I've spent 30 years of my life as a manager. I don't see what micromanagement there is in ensuring that the order that you have passed is actually progressing towards implementation. Or do you have to do something in a mid-course to correct it? That's also something that we need to provide for. Oversight over the ERCs. Now, the great thing about the Regulatory Commission is that in the center, and I used to say this at that time, only the President of India could dismiss me on the advice of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And I would say these are busy people. So unlikely that during my term they're going to do anything about it. The same thing applies to the state. The governor is the only authority who can dismiss a state regulator, and only the, I think the government, the High Court, the Chief Justice of the High Court, has to in fact recommend, investigate and recommend. And they're, of course, also busy. They may not do very much. So I think we now need to ensure that, as in the case of high courts, having administrative control over the district courts, we need some kind of administrative control over the regulatory commissions in the states. And the best administrative control, to my mind, would be the appellate tribunal. Appellate tribunal could, unless it's the high court, but I would prefer the appellate tribunal. But there's not even any thinking about that in this act. And lastly, of course, is the perennial problem, which I mentioned this morning. Regulatory commissions now seem to be part of the post-retirement benefit for people in government, mostly from the IAS, but also from other services like the Revenue Service. The Delhi regulator who created regulatory assets in Delhi was from the Income Tax Service, which is why his colleague, who is now Chief Minister of Delhi, said, oh, my friend, he's now his advisor, incidentally. The then chairman of the DRC, he is now advisor on energy to the Chief Minister of Delhi. And the whole idea is that this 30-odd thousand crores, they'll be able to get back. So I think we now need to think, how do we ensure that selection of regulators is not confined to people from government, not confined to elderly people, but even younger people, whether it's from media, from academia, from business, who are given a 5-year term and are enabled to function, so that they would not be bullied by the state government or not feel compliant because their subordinate is now power secretary or whatever, and they want to do a favor. That's a serious problem in almost every state, where tariffs are held back because the political and the administrative authority does not want tariffs to go up. And therefore, we need some way in which selections can be opened out. And the first thing there is a selection committee. If you look at the acts and the selection, I don't remember what it says in the revised act, but the selection committee should not be confined to people who are connected with government. It should be opened out to independent people. We need to do that. That again is not there. One last thing is the possibility that we might even create a regulatory staff cadre. Certainly we should be able to move regulators from one state to the center, one state to another. Regulatory staff should also be capable of moving. Now, having said all this, may I now, we'll go in the same order we are, and we'll start with Mr. Prabhakar.